and gentlemen, this is Trisha here with Insectopia. I decided to wear my Insectopia hat today, so I figure when I'm looking down and sketching and stuff, you'll be able to read that. That's kind of fun. Today I thought that we would sketch the golden dung fly. It's in the family Scathophagidae, and I've always thought that that's kind of a funny scientific name since I read it. I'm sure that some of you out there know what the word scat is, or what the word scat means. And for those of you who are not in the know, scat is animal feces that you find out in the woods or out in the meadow. So if a deer poops, it's scat. If a bear poops, it's scat. So that's what that is. That's scat. And then phagidae breaks down from the word phagus. And I believe phagus doesn't mean loving. I think that it means like eating. Yeah, it means eating or to feed on. So Scathophagids are dung flies. They eat poop. Alright, you can find them very commonly on farmers' fields that when they have things like cows and things like goats and sheep. Hey Robin, it's nice to see you. Appreciate you coming and saying hi. I'll let you know if we do any activities in the Philadelphia region. Alright, so that's what Scathophagids are. They are dung-loving flies, and this one in particular, the common name for this fly is the golden dung fly, given to its name because of its really bright yellow color. Sometimes they're also just called the yellow dung fly, but I personally feel like golden dung fly really gives them more justice, or gives them, I believe that it is truer to their body and truer to who they are. And I do have the scientific name for the species on this friend here. It's Scathophaga stercoraria. Yeah, Scathophaga stercoraria. And scat and phaga, both coming from that family name Scathophagidae. But actually it comes the other way around. Scathophaga would be the first genus described in the family, which is why the family's name is that way. Scathophaga is the genus, and then you probably have Scathophagidae, which is would be the subfamily, and Scathophagidae, which is our family. Anyway, I'm going to write Scathophaga stercoraria on the top of our paper. Alright, Scathophaga stercoraria. And our common name on that is the golden dung fly. And I'm just going to write both names because I want to remember what exactly we're drawing. Very good. I think I'm actually going to be turning my paper horizontally and sketching my fly in this direction, because I want to draw it laterally rather than dorsally. Hi, Margaret. Yes, our little golden friend, the golden dung fly. All right. Luckily, we do have the ability to see our entire dung fly under the microscope, so I can measure the length of his body. See, but if I go this way diagonally, that's not going to give you the length of its body. So what I'm going to do is we're going to get the number for this for the head and the thorax combined. Let's see. I want to drag this. Drag it. There we go. And then I'm going to take another line that goes this way. I believe I can make a curve. Let me see if I can make a curve. Yeah, cool. All right. So the measurement on our dung fly is going to be 0.79 centimeters plus 0.67. So let me go ahead and do that math for you. Uh, 1.46. I personally would probably just call it 1.5. 1.5 centimeters long for your nature journals. All right, so at 1.5 centimeters long, we can see his entire body under a microscope, which is something I enjoy, and I think that it's good. I know that a number of you like to make sure to screenshot or take a picture of the screen while there is the full dorsal or the full image of our fly, so feel free to do that if you'd like. I'm going to start with a very, very light sketch of our golden dung fly, and that's just going to give me our overall body shape, and it makes sure that I'm leaving enough room for all of the things like the legs and the wings and the like. If I don't pre-sketch a little bit, at least, my insect ends up going off the screen pretty much all the time. If I don't do this, my sketch will go off the paper. And then you don't have as great, I always like to try to make sure that you get the entire insect on the paper, right? So I'm giving myself an overall kind of basic shape. So we've got this head up here. It is kind of closer to a circle rather than an oval. Like it's I guess wider than a lot of wasp heads. So we've been drawing a lot of these kind of D-shaped heads, where this one is kind of wider, more circular. And then we've got this thoracic region, and over here, there is this little dorsal ledge on our fly. Oops, grabbed the wrong screen. Mr. Terry, there he is. All right, so if we look right about there, there is a little bit of a lateral ledge that comes, and then it comes down. And that's what I just sketched here with this line. And this whole section here is the thorax, and so that's where all of these legs are going to be connected, and we'll be able to kind of zoom in and figure out how we're going to be sketching those. This part right here is our abdomen, and it's going to be coming out kind of just a little bit below this ledge on the thorax. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of make mine curl down a little bit, just like this one on our microscope does. Because I believe even when they are adults flying around in farmers' fields, their abdomens will curl down like that a lot of times. So this is my very light kind of outline sketch of what our body is looking like. I'm going to be connecting our wings, so let's get Terry out of the way. Now, flies are unique in the insect world because they are the only insect, other than a rare one no one sees, they are the only insect with 2 wings. Any other insect that you can think of is going to have 4. Bees, butterflies, wasps, dragonflies, beetles, grasshoppers, cockroaches, ants, termites. All of those insects have 4 wings. They have a front wing and a hind wing. Whereas flies only have 2 wings. Now, in place of their hind wing, they have a body part called a haltere. And it's going to be really super obvious on our Scathophagid. It's right here. It's that stem piece and then the little ball on the end. That's kind of like a gyroscope for a plane. It helps the fly balance in the air. So that's going to be right about there. Our legs, the two and the front legs are going to be going forward, and then the middle and the hind legs are going to be going backwards. So I'm just giving my little friend kind of these little insect stick legs for now so that I can kind of measure the length and the angles. Also, I'll be able to know that all of the legs are ending at the same spot so that he looks like he's walking on something. Now, before, we definitely are going to be getting into looking at my friend. Actually, let's go ahead and zoom in on the head. Trying to get it at just the right angle. I want to see it laterally, so I don't want to be looking at it too close to head on. But I believe my fly specimen turned his head a little bit, so I'm trying to get it to just the right spot for us to sketch it. Don't mind me. He's bouncing around a little bit. He's just so cool, though. Alright, so he has the distinct fly-like antenna that we call aristate or aristate antenna. If you look, there are these two segments here and here, and it's kind of almost hanging off his face. We kind of say that they're sausage-like, and then you can see this very long, thick hair coming off of the antenna. That hair actually has its own name. That hair is called the arista. And so the entire antenna are actually named for that little hair on there. And that hair is the sensory for our flies. So he has the ability to use his senses and to use his antenna through that little hair there. Oh, and the other thing that's really cool is that I took a microscope image of this Scathophagid's head on. And this is a microscope image that I took of our specimen here, and I thought it would be so cool to share with you, ladies and gentlemen. I love the bristles and the hair on the front of the head. I think that they are so incredibly unique, and they're found in these very straight lines, and it almost makes him look like a lion. There's a part of me that thinks it looks like he's got like this golden mane. But you can see that he's got these antennae up off of the front and series of hairs, large compound eyes, all types of stuff. It looks so cool. I know. I love some of these microscope images that I'm able to take. It's because I stack 50, 60, or 70 different microscope images all on top of each other, and then it comes out in focus. And so things like this, we're not going to be able to see because this is a bunch of different microscope images. But you can see all of the bristles on the hair. This is on the abdomen. We'll look at this again in a minute. All right. I get talking about bugs and I get so excited. right, so let's go ahead and give ourselves a chance at sketching this. I was trying to figure out if that dark part right there at the bottom is a part of his mouth parts, and I believe it is. I believe that this dark piece right here, it stems off of the head. And you know what? I have looked at this specimen a number of times under the microscope, and I don't know if I've ever noticed that. So we might have to turn my specimen a little bit so that I can get a better look at that. But I want to give ourselves a chance at sketching, so I'm going to focus up closer to the front, to the closer side of the head. I sometimes will give my piece of paper a little bit of a boost so it's closer to the camera. Ladies and gentlemen, it looks like there's a couple of features that I want to make sure I get on my head. I like that the center of the head has that really pretty dark band, and then along the edges of that dark band is where the very strong seedy come out. Oh, that's a good word for today. So seedy is the word for hairs. So a lot of insect hairs are considered seedy. And then if you were going to actually look it up, I do believe that there are a number of different names that specify kind of different types of hairs, but seedy is the umbrella term for all insect hairs. So some of them can be bristles, some of them, I know that there are different names, I just can't think of them right up the minute. Alright, so when I started this first dark line, I'm imagining that this line is on that edge where the bristles or the hairs are going to be coming off of in the center. And I'm going to create kind of a shadow up here in the top that's this darker section of the head. So that I've got that darker section. And then the eye is round in the front, but it doesn't hold those same characteristics, and it's on the back side. So I'm going to make the front of my eye nice and round, but then instead of making it round in the back, it's going to be shaped more like this. Where it's not round like a circle, you do have a little bit of an angle on here. And then I'm going to add some of these larger bristles that you can see on its head that run along this center line. Now, in flies, they are one of those insects that I don't prefer to identify. And that's because most of their characteristics are about the numbers of hairs, the numbers of bristles, and the locations of those. And it can get really tricky. We're going to zoom in on the antenna now. Alright, that is our estate antenna. Spelled like this. And our antenna has the socket, so right about here where the dark ends on the front of the head, that's kind of where our antennal socket's gonna go. And then there is the first segment. You might even consider it the scape and the pedicel, although there aren't, I would say there are no flagellum, or maybe the hair is the flagellum in this case, but I would say we've got the antennal base, and then we've got the first segment that's kind of a rounded triangle that's going to point down. And then the second segment, we say that it's kind of sausage shaped sometimes, but it's kind of just round here. And then we've got the arista, that really strong hair. That is the arista, and it's really important. So it's more important than all of the other bristles. And the arista is what gives our fly its the name for its antenna, the aristate antenna. We mentioned that. I love that it has both those darker kind of bristle-like hairs, but then if you look closely at the exoskeleton, it also has all of these kind of yellow fuzzy hairs. And I don't know what the function or the why is for why it is bright golden yellow, or why it's also so fluffy. Like, why is it covered in setae? I'd like to know. Alright, so this is our thorax, and I'm just looking at a handful of characteristics here. Things that we notice about flies are going to be these lines in the thorax. These are all breaks in different plates on the thorax, and in flies, they're really important. Each one of these plates has its own name. And then each one of these bristles that's located on those plates, they all have names too. Admittedly, I don't remember too many of them right off the top of my head. I would definitely, if I was going and identifying this, I'd definitely have to use a notebook or a journal and look back at my old notes. But I do remember these three bristles right here are important. So those ones at least are going to be going into our sketch. And probably also this one right here. For some reason, this one sticks out to me because it is a singular dark bristle amongst all of the golden ones. And then these three are very strong, and they're right next to each other in a straight line. And I believe that is actually found in some keys. But I would have to really dig into flies again. But that's one of the things that I really love about doing this and sketching and looking closer at all of these specimens, is because I learn a little bit about them every time I look at them. Alright. So I'm going to finish up this dark line on the back side of my head. I think I'm pretty happy with the head shape, the bristles on our head, its compound eye, and its antenna. We are going to come back to the mouth at some point. Our mouth parts, I want to know what they look like. Alright, my head connects to my thorax pretty wide. It doesn't have like a neck. Like some ants and some bees and wasps kind of have that neck in between the head and the thorax. This one connects pretty wide and is going to be our connection to our legs. So I'm actually going to zoom out a little bit. I think I zoomed in a little close because I want to see where the legs start. There we go. I taught for an hour and a half before this, and so I have a little bit of a sore throat, I think. Alright, very good. So, I wanted to erase my wings because I think I'm going to be able to do a lot better than those ones that I sketched really lightly. this line coming down from our head, I imagine is the beginning of our thoracic segments right here. And it's going to circle around, and I'm just going to create this line here. Because I believe anything further down than this segment right here is actually the beginning of these legs. Those are coxal segments, or the hip bones, essentially, of our fly. So we're going to be looking right about here. Let's see. It kind of rounds out, and I'm going to be erasing a little bit of our legs too, because I think our legs are going to be connected a little bit lower than I originally had them. Because if our thorax starts here, then our coxae are going to come down in very similar kind of these shapes. So we've got my first pair of legs here. We've got the middle pair of legs here, and then it looks like the hind leg is separated from the front and the middle leg just a little bit. So I am looking at this piece here, and then this one back here that's just a little bit off of focus. But that's why I'm sketching them too, is so that you can kind of see the shapes that I'm seeing. All right, so I've got my coxae situated, the ones for our front leg, our mid leg, and our hind leg. We've got this segment coming out, but here's the thing: this hind leg, this hind leg may have gotten a little bit wide. We're probably gonna change the shape of that one just a little bit. I want to take right between the second and the third pair of legs. I'm gonna go up just a little bit, and that is where our wing structures are gonna be starting. So I'm going to create this kind of C shape that's going to send our wing in that direction. I do very basic wing bases. If you look at the wing and we zoom in, it can be a very, very complicated structure because there are so many muscles going in different directions. And we can go ahead and do that in a moment. All right, so we went up a little bit. We gave ourselves where our wing is coming in. And then from right in this area, we're bringing a segment down that is going to connect to our wing base. All right. And then we want this arch to be kind of the same as this arch, but in the other direction, so that you're kind of creating this arched looking back. And there we go. So that's going to be a little bit of our arched back. And then those three, I'm going to get rid of this really quick. Those three hairs that are significant are right about here. 1, 2, 3 bristles. And how do I describe this one? There's another segment. There's another line that's coming down across here. And then it splits into a Y, and it goes in this direction, and it goes in that direction. All right. That's another one of our plates. And so if I was going to sketch that, I would put one line right about here. Something like that. Alright, so we have, let's go ahead and zoom in on that wing base. See if there are characteristics, major characteristics that we can follow. I'm going to stick with my very simple kind of looped wing base. For myself, I think it's just a little bit easier. I'm just going to create this kind of little C here. The other thing that we are going to be able to view is the haltere. So if I scooch back and we are looking essentially above that hind leg coxal segment is right here, the hip bone. And then if I focus my camera up a little bit, we can see what looks like a stalk with a little ball at the end of it. That is right about here, and we call it a haltere. It's the modified hind wing of all flies, and it helps them balance in the air. So if you've ever had to or tried to catch a fly midair or catch a fly before it flew away, you may have noticed that it was really tricky. Well, those halteres give them the ability to balance in the air and will increase their ability to kind of maneuver quickly in many directions. And so you'll notice that about most flies. Now, some flies get noticed more regularly than others. So, you know, we are swatting more regularly house flies or green bottle flies or blue bottle flies. But things like mosquitoes also have, some of them at least, have some decent motor control in the air. All right. After our hind leg, you'll notice that it let's see. All right, there is this ledge on the top of the thorax that's a little bit difficult to see from this angle, but we were seeing it we did see it at one of the other angles. We also have the end of the thorax, and the hind coccyx comes up from there. I'm going to erase this leg because, as we know now, our legs are going to be coming out of these sections. So our fly is likely going to be standing a lot taller than we originally had expected. But we'll have to see about the length on its legs. Our abdomen is next. Let's see. Let's zoom all the way out and check out its wings. I believe because we are drawing it from a lateral view, there is not going to be much to wing venations that we see. No. All right. So let's just go ahead and sketch it. It starts here. Its base is fairly narrow, but then once it gets kind of past these three bristles, it gets wider and then comes this way. And there are two of them, so I just gave another little line over there on that side to say, hey, there's two of them. And then we do... just going to leave it like that. Okay. We might go ahead and look at the wing venation, but I do know that they have a coastal segment, a coastal vein that's kind of thick and runs along the top, and then they're going to have branches that come off of it, but we can go ahead and look. We'll flip the specimen so we can see the wing venation a little bit better. Fluffy abdomen. had mentioned that that setae, S-E-T-A-E, is how we say insect hair. But if you wanted to say that there were lots of insect hairs, or that it was hairy or fluffy, the scientific word for fluffy is setose. So you can say, boy, that insect is setose, and you would be saying, wow, it's so fluffy. Just in a more scientific way. I added my halter right about here. It's going to be just this stalk with the knob at the end of it, but we want to make sure that it exists here. Maybe I need to erase one more thing. That's better. So very fluffy. Okay, so now we are looking at the abdomen. Now here's the interesting thing that will actually help you determine how wide your abdomen should be. Now, our abdomen does not connect to the hip bones, all right? So you can see where the coccyx ends right about here. Now, we also knew that there was this ledge on the thorax, so it had to kind of arch back out a little bit and then come down to meet the hip bone or the coxal segment. So the width or the height of your abdomen is this height here, from the top of the coccyx to the edge of this thorax, where it comes down to where it stops to meet the end of the hind coccyx. I hope that makes sense. Loop down and there and there. That's how tall our abdomen is going to be. And our abdomen looks like to me that its first segment is kind of narrow. That would be right from just here to here, right there. And then the second segment looks like it's of decent length. And it is very difficult to know how many segments are underneath all of that hair. And so that might be something you might want to work on, is just going back through and adding all of the fluff, all of those setae. Because once you go back in and add all of those setae, it won't matter how many of those abdominal segments exist, right? Because it just is setose. Although one of my legs is going to be going up there, so I shouldn't have done that until the end. That's fine. All right, I think our fly is looking fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to be flipping it so that we can see it dorsally, so that we can see it on the top. And I want to look at the wing venations really quick to see what about I would need to sketch from a dorsal view or from a lateral view. All right, so what I am seeing is this coastal vein. It's the really strong one right here on the edge. It even has a subcoastal vein or a secondary strong vein that runs parallel to it. So we say coastal and subcoastal. Then we've got a handful over here and a cross vein, and the final couple veins in the back would be considered anal veins. So let's see. If I was going to try and get my wing venation as close to accurate while still staying pretty quick, I would make sure that the front, the leading edge of the wing is pretty dark because that's where our strongest vein is going to be. And then we've got the subcostal vein that runs parallel to it, and it runs along the length of the wing. Now, these other two are kind of moving angular into the center of the wing. It's going to go over the body, and so I think that those are going to be ones that you can't see eventually. Maybe more like this, though. This and this. Something like that is what I would go with. Alright, let's see. We're going to be starting to look at legs, and for my legs, I know that this specimen's legs are kind of tucked underneath the specimen in odd directions. So we're going to be manipulating this specimen individually to see each one of the legs. Now, the other thing I promised that we would do was zoom in and see what we can see about this mouth part that's happening. So I'm going to flip our specimen upside down, maybe? I'm going to have to take the labels off. Remind me to put the labels back on. I want to know what's happening with this mouth part down here. And I think we'll be able to see it from this angle. Oh, cool. We totally can. I've never looked at this fly from this angle. Okay. So that's what it looks like. That is the mouth part of our golden dung fly. Our golden dung fly should be kind of mostly drinking the liquid nutrients off of animal scat. All right, so it'll find fresh cow patties and, you know, fresh poops out in the woods, and they're going to kind of cluster it. Now, it looks like there's this type of straw-like mouth part. A lot of times flies have a little sponge at the base of their mouth part that help them kind of sponge up liquid. And I'm not sure, I'm not sure if this one has a specific sponge on the bottom. The other two things I'm noticing are up here. We've got mouth fingers, those labial palps. Those are up here at the top, and they are... Normally, those mouthpieces are adapted to helping kind of push food into their mouth or protect the mouthpiece. It looks like... I'm not sure what their purpose is. It might be sensory to determine whether the poop is good or not. So much fluff, Avea. Welcome. There are two things that I would love to show you right now, and it's always good for people to see it twice. This wonderful picture, I love it. I took it with my microscope camera, and I smashed a bunch of probably 50 different microscope images all into one, so you can see the length and beauty in this hair, because the hair is so long that it's difficult to get the whole strand in one image when you're looking at it just basically through the microscope. Now, that's one picture I took, and I like it, but my favorite picture is this one. This is the front of our golden dung fly's head. So these are images that I took with the microscope that I show you every single week. But when I take images, I have the ability to stack those images and create images with deeper focal points. I want to name this fly's hairdresser. I know. I think that the head on the golden dunfly, like right as we're looking at it right now, it makes it almost look like it has a lion's mane because it has all those like long, dark, bristly type hairs, but then it has like the yellow fluff down here. I just think, and the best eyelashes. I see that too. Yes. Very good. So golden dungfly is our common name. The scientific name is Scathophaga stercoraria. It took me a minute, but we got there. Scathophaga stercoraria. And so scat is our literal translation. Scat is animal poop, right? And phaga, or phagus, is generally rooted in the word eating or to feed on. And so Scathophaga, the genus, literally translates into eats poop. Yep. So I would like to get this mouth part sketched onto my head because I think that that's really cool. That large golden membrane in the front of its face. Oh, that flat section. That is a section of the exoskeleton without hair. That's what the exoskeleton color looks like without the floof. And I'm not sure what the purpose is of having this area that's kind of flat and hard and smooth rather than rough and setose or fluffy. But that's going to be the differences between those two right there. I'm not sure if it's a miss or a mister, so you can call it mix floof. All right, so I'm pretty happy. We're getting through our fly pretty good. So we've got mouth parts to take care of, and then we've got legs to take care of. So our dark part, our almost black mouth part right here, it's coming out of the base of our head, kind of back here. And then you have the two labial palps that are golden. And I'm just going to put them both next to each other, kind of like this. It looks like two human brain ventricles. I don't know if I know what a human brain ventricle is. Silly fly. He's so floofy. Alright, so I'm trying to get us a decent image of some legs so that we can see kind of how the legs are connected to the thorax and what the legs are going to be looking like. As many of you likely know, we've got some main leg parts. The femur, the tibia, and the tarsi. The femur being that first segment between the hip and the knee. That would be this one right here. Then we've got the tibia. It goes from this knee section all the way into the first joint. That's going to be our tibia. It's also the name of your bone between your knee and your ankle. That bone right there is called the tibia. And then the rest of these little toe segments that we're going to have to change the focus on to be able to see. These guys right here and those little tarsal claws, these are tarsi. Ah! I can see that. Flaw of the labial palps. Yeah, they're pretty cute. Okay, so I think so. A lot of times I will start our legs by going up and then out. And in this fly, I don't think that we're going to be doing that. I think instead of taking these segments and going up and down, we're going to be going out and down. So our femur, is straight on the top and lobed on the bottom, coming to a more narrow pointish, and then our tibia is going to be coming down. And I'm going to go ahead and change our focus so that we can see the tarsal segments. So it looks like 5 tarsal segments. I just spent a little bit of time moving up and down the focus so that I can make sure I see them for you. We've got 1 here, 2, 3, 4, and then this 5th one is a little bit longer and rounded at the edge because it has our 2 claws. And you can see kind of what looks like a thicker hair pad mat thing underneath their claws. Those are essentially toe pads, and we call them pulvuli. And there are a variety of insects that have them, but I believe they're most common in flies. Alright, there we go. Got back. So our 5 tarsal segments on our front leg, they're going to be moving forward. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with 2 claws and little pads. And that is going to be our first leg. My leg may have gotten a little bit smaller than I wanted it. I don't know. Let's see what the other legs look like when we get them on. So I'm going to get us focused on the hind legs. I believe in this specimen, the hind and the middle legs are very similar. And our middle legs are all, none of our middle legs are really, really great position to be able to kind of focus all in at one time and sketch them. So I was kind of hoping that I could get one of these hind legs in focus okay. Maybe I'll flip it over. Well, I hope that with this image we still have an idea of what the legs look like, how we would sketch them. So for our middle legs, all of these legs are going to be slender. They're going to be thin. They're going to look kind of long. I'm going to make my legs kind of come down first instead of interacting with the body. So I think my leg is going to come down like this. So it looks like my fly will be standing up a little bit taller. But hey, it probably can do that in the wild. Kind of. Oh, it's fine. And then I always put a little bit of an angle on the end when I'm going into the tarsal segments. And I make the angle go in the direction that the tarsal segments are going. So because my tarsal segments are moving backward, I made sure that my diagonal was in this direction so that I can connect them correctly this way. You're going to have those same 5 tarsal segments with the 2 claws and the pulvili, with the toe pads. Alright, now our hind leg, I believe, is also these legs on the tibia. You'll see all of those longer bristles, and I believe our bristles they look like they're on the outside. So you could come back in and give your legs tibial spurs or tibial bristles. Maybe we'll call them tibia bristles. You can go back and add those too. Now, our hind leg, I do want to come back over our abdomen just a little bit. So I'm going to be angling it kind of like this. And then I'm going to be going back in and erasing all of this area where my leg is on top of my abdomen. But because it's wide enough, that wasn't too bad of a task. And then I'm going to also give myself a little clear range for where my tibia is coming back down towards the ground. I think my front leg definitely could have been longer, but I am actually pretty happy with our with our sketch here. And I'm also happy with the number of people who ended up coming to our Saturday live stream. I super appreciate seeing everybody coming out and having a good time, sticking around to sketch and talk about insect anatomy and behavior and all that type of fun stuff. I know that some of us came a little bit later, and so I want to give you the overall view of what our specimen kind of looks like. And I'm going to leave that there for a minute. I'm going to go and grab another image that I took because I believe I have a full image, like a full specimen image of this Scathophagid that is a stacked fit camera. It's like a stacked image, so it should be of pretty good quality. But I have to go grab it from my computer. It's this one. Yeah. So there's our friend. I think that this image does actually help show you the connection to the abdomen and how narrow it is in comparison to kind of how tall that thoracic region is. He's got a very thick thoracic region because he needs all of that space for all of his wing muscles and his leg muscles. He's got not 4 wings, but he's got 2 wings, halteres, and 6 legs to take care of, and it's all right there in that little box. The abdomen is digestion, and his little heart vein is in there, and maybe a little bit of his nervous system, but there's not a lot happening inside there, which is why it doesn't have to be as big. Or there might still be a lot happening in there, but it's all happening in a very small quantity. Like gut microbes and things like that get really interesting. Alright, I am pretty happy with my sketch today. Let's see, that's what my final sketch looks like. Our scientific name was Scathophaga stercoraria, and its common name is the golden dung fly, which I believe it has rightly received. I think that it definitely gets to keep its name, the golden dung fly. So I'm hoping that we got all of the areas sketched that we wanted to sketch. Or are there other places in our fly that you would like to see before we head off today? Alrighty, so I want to say thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for spending your Sunday afternoon with me. Just keep in mind that I do teach on OutSchool. These are classes to mostly students, so students of ages 5 to 8 and 9 to 12. If you know younger students, younger kids, and you want to send them in my direction, you can use the link in the description box below, and you'll actually get $20 free towards your first class with me. That is your little reminder up there to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you get notifications of when I go live. I have been seriously considering Inverttober and doing a live stream every day in October, and it might happen. It might have to be late nights because I teach a lot of times between 6 and 8 on OutSchool, but that's Eastern Standard Time. So I don't normally teach after 10. I just got a side gig to spread 60 death head moths. Yeah, so I'm going to be spreading death head sphinx moths, and that would be a cool thing to also put as like a live stream for Inverttober. So I don't think not all of my live streams are going to be like this, but I think I might be able to do that. I also would like to start working on getting my sketches ready for coloring books. And so I could, for Inverttober, if you guys were cool with it, go back through some of the sketches that we did in pencil, and I could spend time inking it out. I know some people call October Inktober, so that could also be like an Invertober inking. Something. We'll figure it out. But yes, all of those Death Head Sphinx moths are going to have to be spread, and there's 60 of them, so it's going to take a little bit of time. But I wouldn't mind going ahead and doing it that way. It would be kind of a fun thing to do on this channel. You think that that's cool? I think it would be kind of fun to go back through some of the old sketches and do ink them. So that might be happening. Yeah, I think that might happen. I only have a handful of days left, but you know what? I also have things to pit. I also have insects to label and a couple of specimens that I need to kind of sort back into my drawers. So we could also make one of the Invertober days like a collection. You guys have been asking for a, what do we call that? A collection walkthrough? A collection show and tell, essentially? Good. Awesome. So I'm hearing some positive things about doing this, and I think that it would really help visibility on this channel. I think that we would get a lot of new subscribers and a lot of new viewers, so it totally would be worth it. Ivea says it sounds fun to see my collection too. So we're likely gonna be doing that. Probably some show and tell collection stuff. I might go ahead and pull some more of my microscope images and do a little bit of that stuff. But I think it would be a lot of fun, and it would be a real cool way to like kick into Halloween, you know? Oh, good. Oh, that makes me so happy, Avea. Thank you for chatting me up at Pencil Miles and Chill. Sometimes I feel like that's one of the things that I'm doing here, too, is just getting miles under my pencil, you know? To be able to sketch with you, ladies and gentlemen, twice a week, and then I'm sketching with students ages 9 to 12 3 times a week. I'm getting some really awesome sketches, out there, and I definitely want to start sharing them in a larger scale manner. Social media is hard, guys. Bug miles, pencil bug miles. I love it. And with every couple miles, you realize that you're also seeing new bugs under a microscope all the time, you know. I could have had these specimens just sitting in a drawer, but instead we're getting them out and we're looking at them under microscopes and learning from them all the time, so that makes me happy. And I'm gonna need more specimens. I need more specimens in my collection so that we don't run out of bugs to sketch. Don't worry, we're not that close yet, though. Alright, I think that the only thing that is left is this little link right here. This is my QR code. It links directly to my PayPal account. If you've really enjoyed hanging out with me today, if you're excited about your golden Dung Fly image, or if you laughed today, or if you're gonna go and share some knowledge, it's always great to donate a couple dollars to Insectopia. It helps me continue to do this. It helps me to continue to reach people both online and in person, and so that is always helpful. If the QR code doesn't work, there is a direct link in the description box. Yes, exactly, Avea. And I think that if I start getting more of these images inked, then I can really like post them and maybe make some ripples in the social media side of the social media aspect of things. Sometimes I feel like if there was one part of Insectopia as a small business that I would kind of that I wouldn't mind paying somebody to do, it's social media It's it is a little bit draining, but I love doing the bugs and chatting and doing the live streams, and this seems to be working out really well. So we'll just keep doing what we love. Thank you so much. I'm wearing my new Insectopia hat. And then when I look down to sketch, you can see Insectopia, which is kind of cool. It made me smile. So you might see me wearing my Insectopia hat more regularly on the live stream. We'll see. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for spending your Sunday afternoon. I super, super appreciate it. Even you just being here, you just watching me, gives me, it's so much help. And I'll tell you exactly why. On YouTube, to be monetized or to be paid for your content on YouTube, you need to have, I think it's 4,000. You need to have 4,000 watch hours in a rolling year. So in the last 365 days, essentially, you need to have been viewed on computers for 4,000 hours. And that is a whole heck of a lot. And so I think I'm about halfway there. But doing these live streams and just having people hang out with me, sketch, listen, it really helps me. I'm at 1,500. So we're getting there. We're getting there. Pretty exciting stuff. So, have a wonderful week. It is a lot of hours. It's so many hours. But with multiple people hanging out with us and with many people watching all at once, those hours do add up pretty quickly. So, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week. Go ahead and share your buggy stories on my social media at Insectopia 2015, or bring them to the next live stream event Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern or next Sunday at 4 p.m. Have a wonderful week and stay buggy.